Hello and welcome to Elvenhome. A bit of a delay since the last one. It was supposed to have been up last week, I think, maybe a bit earlier. Various things got in the way, life got in the way really, nothing too horrible. When I spoke to you the last time, I knew I had been cited for jury duty in Scotland. But I was sort of hoping that I'd be able to go and do that and do some stuff in the afternoons, in the evenings rather. But as it turned out, I never went to court once. I had to keep phoning up every night to see if I was needed, and I wasn't needed. And after about a week or so, they said, "Thank you very much. We don't need you. Bye." And I understand the reasons for that. Having worked in the court service, I know exactly the kind of problems they encounter in trials going on. But it was very disruptive, much more than I expected it to be. So I didn't feel able to get anything done because I was just waiting on phone calls. And then we had a friend stay, and then I had my shingles 2 vaccination. And the first one hadn't caused many problems, but the second one gave me a rough few days, I can tell you. Anyway, I am fine now and have been able in the last 2 or 3 days to get back to working on this panel. And you'll recall that in the last one, I'd put the wires underneath and I said I needed to test all the switches to make sure they worked, which I did. I tested them with the continuity tester. A good job I can use chopsticks, because trying to hold the two things together at the same time as flick the switch to check the continuity was something of a challenge, but I did manage it. I also took the opportunity with the little brass spade connectors that I've got to get the ones that I'm actually going to be using, and with a hammer to use one of these switches in another piece of wood and open them up so that they slide on tightly, but I'm not trying to slide them on once they're already wired. So they're all ready to go. And so now we'll go back a couple of days where I start talking about what I hope to have achieved by the end of this video, and you will have to see whether I get there. So as I promised, a very quick recap on what I'm having to do in wiring in this control panel because of the way in which I put the layout together originally. When I first started 9 years ago now, goodness me, I was very nervous of electrics, and it was all I could summon myself to do to get the track working and the point motors working. And I really wasn't interested in building a control panel. So I went with the passing contact switches, and I didn't think about any kind of wiring from the frogs that might help me create a control panel with lights that would tell me the direction in which a set of points were set. Mainly because when I started, of course, none of the scenery was there. It was very easy to see which way points are set. Now that everything is ballasted, and in some places there's one set of points, or two actually, 3, now I think about it, sets of points that I really can't see standing at the control panel, it makes it really rather difficult to know which way trains are going to go just from the lever frame. And even using the lever frame, I didn't put the switches into the frame and wire them up consistently, so that I could know that if a switch was down, a point would be in the normal position, but if a switch was up, it would be set for the diverging route. So eventually I got sick of it and I decided that I was going to put a new control panel in. That, I think, was January. Fast forward a little bit, after a slight mishap in wrongly wiring these things in and ruining 6 of them, I'm now starting to actually do the wiring behind the control panel fascia that you've already seen. And what you can see in front of you is one of the point indicator motors. And it works by detecting when I throw this switch on the control panel, which will be wired to go to these, which go off to the point motors, to throw the point motor, this unit detects that the switch has been thrown, and it will change the lights for the corresponding set of connectors so that it's showing that it's been thrown. And obviously, well, I've got to sight these in the right way so that when the point's thrown, the lights don't show it's going off in a different direction. This is a proof of concept, just to make sure everything works, and also just to wire in one of these and make sure that it doesn't blow up, which was the problem with the other ones that I was putting in. So these are in position, and I've got a switch attached which attaches into here, so that controls these at the corresponding side. And I'll put up now, or insert in the frame, a closer piece that I took in slightly darker conditions so that you can see the points going, the lights changing. I'm doing it now, but you may not be able to see it as well as you will be in the piece that I've just shown you. I've also tested this switch on a couple of these here to make sure that the points throw, because I put a new CDU and power source in, because of that I wasn't sure whether I might have affected either or both of those through the wrong wiring of these units in before. So the next thing I've got to do is to actually wire one of the real cables, because at the moment this only has 2 wires coming off it. What it will actually have is 2 wires coming off and going to the bottom half that connect in here, so that goes to the point motors, and 2 wires coming off to go in here, and then there will be wires coming off of here to go to the 2 lights that will be set in the fascia of the control panel. Now what I'm going to do is, the first one I'm going to use that for is point number 23, which is the set of points that controls the, if I move the camera up a bit, point number 23 is over here, and it accepts a loco and a couple of coal wagons and controls the travel up to the coal stage. I need to do a slight bit of rejigging because 23 at the moment comes in over here, and I don't, and yet the switch is right over in this corner. So I'm going to run some wire underneath so that I can just wire more easily from the control panel top. But hopefully, if this works, the next time you see this, the control panel should be in its place, 2 lights should be in there, and it should be controlling point number 23 and throwing the lights the right way. And if that works, all I've got to do is repeat that another 24 times and everything will be done. So I'll see you once I've done all that work. Hurrah! Well, modified hurrah. As you can see, the first two lights are wired in and they're working, and you could probably hear the points changing. I have managed to choose a set of points that are almost impossible to video because the set of points that you can hear changing over here are tucked right at the back there, which is a bit of a shame, but never mind. I'm sure you heard the click go as the points change. So this, I've completed this part of it, and the reason that I said it was a modified hurrah is that I have undoubtedly taken two very large steps forward by not blowing up the point indicator unit. I keep calling them motors, they're not, they're unit, indicator units, and by being able to wire the two LEDs so that the current is able to change between them. But in doing that, it has highlighted a potential design flaw in the way that I've constructed, the way that I'm fixing the point indicator units underneath this panel, which means I'm going to have to go away and cudgel my brains. It's not fatal. It is capable of change, I think, but I need to go away and think a bit about it. But I'll show you what that is in just a moment when I take this off and put it, and we'll take it down onto the desk. Okay, so as you will recall, now these are still wired in, so I have to be a little bit careful. If I lift this up, when you look inside, I put this shelf essentially on which each of the point indicator units are going to be fitted. Can I just say one thing? The amount of wire you see under here is deliberately generous because I was proving that this will work or has a chance of working, and I deliberately put all the wires much longer than they will be on the real thing when I actually come to do it. But one of the things that it's thrown up for me is that I won't be able to have obviously this panel, I'm going to, well, there's a couple of things. As you can tell, they're whizzing through my head and I'm trying to think what they are. First of all, my intention originally had been that I would wire each plug one at a time, do all the wiring, sign it, put it all in, and then move on to the next one. I've got to think a bit about that, because if I tried that approach, as I get down here and I'm wiring these ones in, particularly if I'm not making the wires very long, and I don't want to make the wires very long because the amount of wire that's going to be under here is going to be quite substantial, and I could end up with a real mess. But the amount of space to screw the terminals here and even here is very limited if this is anywhere near the top of this board. And I think what I need to do, but I need to go away and think about it, is essentially flip this round. Now I've got enough space to do it. It would have to be completely different to what I've done there, but have this a bit higher, but the other way round, so that all the terminal screws were underneath, so I can wire into them and screw without having too much of a problem. And then I can mount this on the top here with some posts to give me a little bit of space, and that will allow me then to do the soldering, because that's the other thing. Soldering the wires onto the LEDs, which you can see two of them here, is a tricky old thing to do. I mean, there's no easy way around it really. They'll all be fine to do. Some of them are easier than others, and this perhaps was a little more complicated by being so close to the power wire, so I had to make sure I didn't melt through that. It may be that I won't, these will actually be put onto the plugs at a later stage. So I'll have to wire each one of these in and test them to make sure that each one works as it should. So I need to do just a wee bit of thinking about that, a wee bit of thinking about how I fit this on. Because another idea that's come to me is to fit this on at right angles, if there's space. But that all needs me to go away and have a think. So what this has done is taught me that yes, this will all work, but if I try to do it this way, I think I will very quickly come to a point where I don't have the space, particularly to wire in to these sockets at this end, which are the ones that lead to the LEDs. Otherwise, everything has gone as it should. Apart, you'll see these two wires over here. Having been at Clever Clogs and produced a mirror image of the top, so that when I can work from one which shows me the underside when it's turned round, I completely forgot to look at that. So I don't know why I went and did this set first, but that's where they should have been. So in fact, the good news is I have two of these wired up. There's no reason why this set won't work as well. So I've done two sets of them, and that's something. And I will be putting shrink wrap around these, and I may put some Captic tape around them a bit, as well, one set anyway, just to avoid any shorts. The sockets have gone on really well. That one needs to be pushed on a bit further. I'll get the pliers and do that. They need to be pushed right home, but they all seem to go on really well. And this one has had the board going up and down a bit. So once I do it properly, they shouldn't be disturbed too much. But this has been very pleasing to get that far. And all I've got to do now is to get on, work that bit out, and then I think I'm going to tackle what is a really tricky one, get it out the way so it's not, actually I've got one here. If you look at this switch, this, I think I mentioned it before, this switch actually throws two sets of points because it's a crossover. And on the real railway, you would never set one of those points on their own. They would always move together. And one of the good things is that you can wire 2 point motors into one switch so that you do throw them together. But that means I've got to fit together 4 lights, because this light, this light, this light, and this light all need to show the direction in which their respective sets of points are going. So when I flick this switch, I'm not sure which way I'm going to go, whether it's up or down. We'll go in the up side, I think. So when I flick this switch up, then these 2 lights will go out and these 2 lights will come on to show the crossover is live. So I need to set these 2 and these 2 into the same connection on the point indicator unit. So that will have 4 wires coming to that. That's not going to be difficult, I don't think. It's just something I'm going to have to do. That won't be too difficult to do. So he said, and actually thinking about it, I can just think of a way I may be able to do that fairly straightforwardly using the junction clips that I've used elsewhere. So the answer has come to me while I've been burbling to you. So that, I think, pretty much brings this edition, which has taken much longer to get done than I anticipated for the reasons I explained earlier, to a close. I think what I'm going to do, I hope to come back to you in about 2 weeks' time, but I won't come back to you until this is finished, because I want to get this completely finished now, unless some evil befalls me that says that this won't work, this design won't work at all. I want to get this completely finished, come back so you can see it working, because I'm really keen to get on with continuing the build of the low relief buildings further along from the works that I did, and get back to some modelling away from electronics. So I hope to speak to you in about a fortnight's time, but we'll see. Actually, where does that take me to? Yes, no, in about a fortnight's time. If I don't do it within a fortnight, then it will be in a month's time, because I'm away for a weekend in 3 weeks' time, and I won't have time to do anything that week. Right, so I think that's about enough. If you've liked the video, please do give it a thumbs up. And if you haven't subscribed, please do subscribe. There's plenty to be going on with, as you can see, if only to find out what happens whether I get this completed. And if you've got any comments, please do let me have your comments. Always welcome to receive comments. But until I speak to you again in either 2 or 4 weeks' time, that's bye-bye from me. Bye-bye.